Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Let's go ahead and get our 30th week underway with another Mailbag Monday. Wyatt P. from the Czech Republic writes in saying that in the chapter The White Rider, while Gandalf is telling the three hunters about his fight with the wingless beasts, points for that, Wyatt, he says that far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Okay. Now, Wyatt goes on to say that, according to my understanding, the Ainur were created first. Nothing is older than they are, save Eru Ilúvatar, and, in some theories, Iarwain Ben-Adar. Now, that's Tom Bombadil for the rest of you. His question is this. Is this possible discrepancy explained elsewhere, or is it simply another mystery we've been left to speculate about? Well, Wyatt, that is a good question, and I'm sure that others have asked or at least wondered the very same thing. Now, first, I want to start with the entire context of the quote that Wyatt referenced here. Gandalf is, as Wyatt said, bringing the three hunters up to speed about his battle with the Balrog. Gimli has just said that the abyss that Gandalf was pulled down into is very deep, and none has measured it. Gandalf explains, "Yet it has a bottom, beyond light and knowledge. Thither I came at last, to the uttermost foundations of stone. He was with me still. His fire was quenched, but now he was a thing of slime, stronger than a strangling snake. We fought far under the living earth where time is not counted. Ever he clutched me, and ever I hewed him, till at last he fled into dark tunnels. They were not made by Durin's folk, Gimli, son of Glóin. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day." Well, except for that report, right, Gandalf? Now, of course, we know that Sauron is indeed a Maia, one of the class of Ainur. The Silmarillion in the Ainulindale explains that they are the holy ones that were the offspring of Ilúvatar's thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. So, before anything else was made. And then we're told in the Valaquenta about the mightiest of these Ainur that descended into Arda, the Valar. Before we're told that with the Valar came other spirits whose being also began before the world, of the same order as the Valar, but of less degree. These are the Maiar, the people of the Valar, and their servants and helpers. So, the end of the Valaquenta, we read that among those of Melkor's servants that have names, the greatest was that spirit whom the Eldar called Sauron, or Gorthar the Cruel. In his beginning he was of the Maiar of Aule, and he remained mighty in the lore of that people. In all the deeds of Melkor the Morgoth upon Arda, in his vast works and in the deceits of his cunning, Sauron had a part, and was only less evil than his master, in that for long he served another and not himself. But in after years he rose like a shadow of Morgoth and a ghost of his malice, and walked behind him on the same ruinous path down into the void." Okay, fine, maybe I just wanted an excuse to read that last bit about Sauron, but the point is, Sauron is a Maia, Maiar are Ainur, just like Valar, and the Ainur are offsprings of the very thought of Ilúvatar. The fact is, they were in existence before anything else was made. So how could these nameless things below the roots of the mountains be older than Sauron when Sauron is actually older than, the actual mountains? Well, Hammond and Skull give us an answer, and I just have to tell you, I'm sorry to say we're not going to find it very exciting. They say, but Sauron is a Maia. Nothing should exist in Middle-earth that is older than he. The phrase, they suggest, is probably rhetorical. Now, that's an unexciting and, frankly, rather unsatisfying answer, even if it is 100% absolutely true. But think about it. Tolkien was prone to this sort of statement, often about age more than anything else. A little earlier in that very same chapter, Legolas asks, "Who is this Treebeard?" And Gandalf has an answer. "Treebeard is Fangorn, the guardian of the forest. He is the oldest of the Ents, the oldest living thing that still walks beneath the sun upon this Middle-earth." And yet, Iarwain Ben-Adar is, according to Elrond, oldest and fatherless. And according to himself, Tom is eldest, that's what I am. Tom says he was here before the seas were bent. He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless before the Dark Lord came from outside. And yet that didn't stop Gandalf from crediting Treebeard again when speaking to Theoden this time, telling him that when he speaks with Treebeard, you will hear the speech of the oldest of all living things. So which is oldest? Treebeard? Tom? The Nameless Things? Sauron? I think that for this we can fall back on Hammond and Skull's conclusion that it is a rhetorical flourish. After all, in an unpublished letter, they cite Christopher Tolkien as saying that his father was given to rhetorical superlatives. They even point out the claim that when Celeborn left for the Grey Havens, with him went the last living memory of the elder days in Middle-earth, another claim that can't really be accurate. Now, it could also be that these nameless things are in fact other Maiar, but they have been evil longer than Sauron has been evil. As we talked about earlier, Sauron was originally of the Maiar of Aule, so he flipped to the dark side at a later date, perhaps. Another option could be that it's just in regards to their location here under the mountains. These nameless things, below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, have been there since before Sauron knew of Moria. So that is, their presence here is older than his presence here. Those are really the only other options besides the rhetorical superlative. I'm afraid I don't have a firmer answer than that one, Wyatt, and I hope that's more satisfactory than probably rhetorical. But folks, that wraps it up for Mailbag Monday. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please email it to barlaman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Let him know it's for today's Tolkien Times, and I'll get to it as soon as possible, with priority going to supporters of the show on Patreon. Speaking of which, please visit patreon.com/TolkienTimes to find out how you can help support the show. You can get an ad-free feed, listen to a bonus episode each week, and a whole lot more. Join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Tolkien Tuesday as we learn more about the professor himself. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Please follow or subscribe on your podcast apps and follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.